This is border country, the dividing line between the British province of Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. The border meanders for nearly 300 miles, and over the past 5 years, it's become a focal point in the middle of a terrorist war. Shots are frequently exchanged across it between the IRA and the British Army. The roads are booby-trapped. Just down there, an army vehicle was blown up by a landmine, and terrorists slip across the border to continue their guerrilla war in Ulster. Any vehicle could contain guns or bombs, and the army uses helicopters to swoop down on any suspicious vehicle.
Do you? I do, yeah.
Please check that one, will you? Can you jump out and open the boot, please?
Hello, Steve Gold, Steve 4 Alpha.
They call this an Eagle Patrol, and it's had some success in containing the movement of the IRA during daylight, but at night the border might just as well not exist. It was created in 1922, when Ireland became a free state and Ulster remained British. The dividing line zigzags up and down. Sometimes, for brief stretches, it's along a straight road, and at other times it meanders along the middle of a river. It does this at Pettigo, where it actually cuts the town in two. The River Termine runs right through the centre of Pettigo, and the river was always the boundary between the counties of Fermanagh and Donegal. Now, when the border was created just over 50 years ago, Fermanagh elected to stay as part of the United Kingdom, to remain part of Ulster, whereas the Free State of Ireland got Donegal. Now, this crow's foot on the bridge marks the exact spot where I can step out of Britain and into the Irish Republic. That meant that the people of Pettigo suddenly found themselves split by an international border. On that side, they were British in largely Protestant Ulster, and on this side, Irish in the largely Catholic Free State of Éire. But by and large, it didn't make all that much difference to people. True enough, a few Protestants headed back over the border from this side into Britain. The telephone boxes changed colour, red on that side and green on this, and two customs posts, British over there and the Irish one here, suddenly faced each other from across the little bridge. The division was a rather untidy one. It left the Orange Hall on the Irish side next to the Catholic Church. And rather unfairly, it left all the pubs on the Irish side as well. There was one pub in Ulster, but that fell into the river. Life, however, went on as much as ever, and the two churches, glowering at each other from opposite sides of the border, were never much more than symbols. People of different religions got on well together, for after all, they all went the same way in the end. Mr. McCrae, a shopkeeper, undertaker, and a Protestant, buries the British. When a Catholic dies, he drives Pettigo's one and only hearse to the border, where John Britton, who's Irish in spite of his name, collects the hearse and goes off to bury his fellow Catholics.
Where are you for today?
Ballyshan.
Ballyshan?
Yeah.
Great. Safe journey.
There are other areas of cooperation as well. This is an international meeting of sewage men, inspecting progress on a joint disposal improvement scheme. John Britton, his undertaking duties over, sets off from his pub to potter about in his garden. And he has to cross the border because his garden is in Britain. Apart from the inconvenient access, he's obliged to eat anything he might grow in his garden on the British side of the border because the importation of vegetables into the Irish Republic is strictly prohibited. This is a smuggler. She's on a return trip from Britain into Ireland with quantities of butter, bread and tin food, all of which are cheaper in Ulster. Smuggling is an old tradition around here, and they start them kind of young. It's a two-way affair. In John Britton's pub, which quenches thirst for 13 hours a day, cigarettes are up to £1 cheaper than in Ulster. So addicts flock in from across the border to buy over 200,000 cigarettes a week. So that's how it always was. The members of two communities, of two nations and of two different religions mingled together happily. Mind you, there was once a punch-up here on the bridge and a bloke got thumped in Ireland and ended up on his back in Britain, which confused the police somewhat. And during the last war, during the blackout, this place was in darkness, whereas on the other side of the border, it was a blaze of light.